care. It does
All right.
is good enough. Jake, take us in.
Okay, so number 2 here, which will come as not much of a surprise to anyone, is Dark Souls 3. As I was saying, we sort of the recording got garbled a little bit. But what I was saying before we crashed was that, this was really a best of. I'm ready for this series to be done. I'm ready to see whatever they're going to come up with next. What From Software moves on to. They've said that they're moving on to another IP. I hope it's a brand new IP. Not that I would be mad about a Bloodborne 2 or whatever this crazy mech game is, John, that you're always referring to. What was that?
I already forgot the name of it. Because From Software did the...
Armored Core?
Yes, Armored Core.
Okay. I would prefer it not be Armored Core because I'm not a mechs guy, but whatever it is, I hope it's a new IP. This game was the best version of these. The movement was at its most refined. The bosses were the most difficult because you had all this experience dealing with previous games to get good at fighting them. The interface was probably as good as it gets. Just the whole experience and being able to go back to some of the places that we've seen in previous games, but they're changed. And just I think this was the best way to end this series, which is why I did not download the DLC and will not be. Because I think it was the right way to end it. So, that being said, I have 2 honorable mentions before I move on to what will be the obvious number 1 pick. The first one is Neverwinter. This does not belong in this list, but I just spent so much time with this game this year. I mean, I lost weekends to this game. And again, I'm not going to rehash everything we talked about. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this to anyone. But I've spent too much time on it this year to not bring it up. And lastly, most likely to make this list if it came out a month or 2 ago, Final Fantasy 15. I'm still not very much further. I'm a couple hours further into it than I was on the Thursday cast. So we're still only talking 6-7 hours total time probably. I may end up looking like an asshole if a month from now this thing falls apart. But for right now, I really feel like this probably would have made my list if I had some more time to spend with it. Number 1, you guys know what this is. Randy, what's the number 1 game of this year?
Doom, son.
That's it. It's Doom.
Yeah. It's not Doom, son. I was calling him son. It's Doom.
Doom-san is your Japanese elder teacher who teaches you to play Doom. You call him Doom-san.
I mean, that's because they don't do that, but Doom, son.
That's the story DLC expansion due out next year.
Yeah,
Doom
it's going to be a 55
Son of Doom.
gig patch.
Son of Doom guy.
Oh my god, yeah, you're not lying. That game takes up so much space.
It is patched just the other day. It gave us another 12 gig patch full of fucking all the shit that we're not going to talk about right here.
They're not putting out new levels. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's all snap map and multiplayer stuff.
Insane.
But all that stuff that they keep tagging up on is not the reason this is my game of the year.
Right.
It is my game of the year because the visuals are fantastic. It's so fluid. It's fast. The guns are fun. The level design is fun. They took the right tack as far as how they approached it. Yep. They were serious, but not too serious. The voice acting was good. The level design was phenomenal.
Yep.
There's even when you pick up the little Doom guys and it makes the real tinny da 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 da. Everything about this game was just right down to minute details. I loved.
It was awesome.
I can't think of a bad thing to say about it.
John got it too.
Except the multiplayer rant that you went on in the 10-15 minutes.
See, I liked the multiplayer. It's very, very old school, so I can understand why some people don't like it. But I loved it. I mean, you can't run up and knife a guy. There's not a whole lot of sniping. It's like I'm back in 2001 playing Quake. Right? It's great. I don't know. It's a throwback.
To me, that's not even part of this game. If I could have not installed it, I would have, because I don't need that. And this is still, I mean, it's my game of the year. It's my favorite of the year.
Exactly, and the single-player campaign was so amazing that you don't really need the multiplayer stuff. I agree with you. It's kind of the opposite of Titanfall, where it's all multiplayer and the single-player campaign is essentially non-existent.
And you could ratchet up.
Oh, and
the difficulty was good.
John, you want to talk about soundtracks? The soundtrack
Oh,
for
fuck,
New
yes.
Doom is so awesome.
It was real good.
I forgot all about the
It brought that metal
soundtrack.
back. So, back in the day when they were releasing Doom and Doom 2, John Romero listened to a ton of Pantera, and you can hear it in the MIDI tracks. They're straight up Pantera ripoffs and some Metallica and stuff. And so now in 2016, what's popular is a genre called gent. And so a lot of that new, like the 8-string guitar stuff, so he's bringing that in now. So the new one has the new, I hate to use the word new metal because that was a genre that sucked. But the new...
They only had 7 strings.
Back in my day, we only had
This
7.
got one more string.
Right, more strings is more metal, literally. So, but that I don't know. I really appreciated the inclusion of the newer type stuff. So it's still metal, and you're still just bashing demon skulls, and you're just covered in blood and muck and the chainsaw, and it's just amazing.
When the way it builds, the more, and I still don't know what it is, but it's, there's so many channels that get added as the scene becomes more hectic. Whether it's more enemies showing up or I don't know what triggers it. You find more.
It does start, and this is not to begin another debate, but it does start with more of kind of an electronic, more of an ambient sort of thing to get you into the level, and then as more enemies show up, like
I don't know.
Maybe the
Well,
drums.
it has a kind of metal industrial song it sometimes hits into, and then it has a straight up like metal song it'll go into, and that's because they had basically 3. They had their soundtrack team that was in house. They had a metal band contribute to it, and then they had Clint Mansell also contribute to it. Clint Mansell being of Pop Elite itself, and also he did the soundtrack to Requiem for a Dream, and the San Junipero episode of Black Mirror, and basically every movie that the guy who did Requiem for a Dream directs, he uses Clint Mansell.
So like as it gets more hectic, for whatever triggers that, it just adds more and more channels. So eventually, you're just surrounded. I play it with headphones.
Yeah.
You're just surrounded by you are assaulted by the soundtrack, and then as you finish the fight, the Halo music kicks in. No, as you finish the fight, it's sort of like the soundtrack catches up and kind of fades out, like you can almost feel the blood rushing back out of your ears.
It's
falls down.
It's really
so
refreshing. Like the sound design in that game is just fucking amazing. Period. Like all the thumps and reload sounds and gun sounds and monster sounds. I think just they did a really good production job on those. And the I forgot where I was going with that. Nope, it's gone.
No, John. Suffice it to say, Doom was the number 1 for Jake. It's the number 1 for me, and it's like the number what for John.
You'll find
We'll
out
find out
when I get to my top
shit.
10. So
10. All right.
yeah,
All right.
we made this. You were warned, Randy. You were warned. This could take up your entire afternoon. So
All right. Are you done, Jake?
No,
did we
I passed it to you. We're on to your list, man.
me?
Yeah.
I'm number 2. Well, let me pull up the Trello here. We're doing the behind this. Oh, I am number 2. No, Doom.
Was that everything?
that's it. That's your list.
Yeah. I played, I guess, number 2 because this is the only. I wanted to put Fallout 4, but technically that's 2015.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we talked about it enough this year, and there's more
Yeah.
DLC.
Exactly.
But
I would put that at number 2, but I'm gonna go ahead and put probably The Division, simply because that's the only other game I played really this year. This was kind of a slow video game year for me.
No Titanfall 2?
It's fun. The jury's out. It really does. I guess this is kind of the point of a sequel, but it really is just like a second Titanfall. It's like
Go on.
It's exactly the same game that we were playing. What was that? 2013 that it came out.
Was it that long ago?
Maybe 14, but I think it was 2013. They didn't really change a whole lot. I feel like they just came out with a new game and maybe beefed up the single-player campaign, because that was one of the main complaints about the first one, is that there was no campaign really. It was just all multiplayer. But
Yeah.
I haven't. John, you finished the campaign on this one.
Yeah.
I haven't even really been touching it. I've been playing all multiplayer again because that's where it shines, and it does shine. Like the multiplayer in Titanfall is super fun and difficult and frustrating, and you'll throw your controller, but it's still super fun. So I guess since I'm talking about it so great, yeah, that'd be number 2.
Okay. Okay.
And then 3 would be I'm gonna stick with The Division at number 3 because I think the Division had a great idea, and I liked the mechanics of the game, but I didn't feel like it was.
How long did you stick with that one?
A few months.
I mean, that's pretty significant.
A few months. The campaign's fun. The cover system is great. All the mechanics of that game are awesome. The upgrade system for your weapons is awesome. The special zone that's kind of half PvP, half PvE is awesome. The just the gunplay and the cover, it's all great. The mechanics are fantastic. They nailed it. But there's something missing, and I'm not sure what it is. Neither of you really played it, right? So I can't kind of ask.
I had zero interest in it.
Yeah.
There's just something missing, and typically I love the Tom Clancy games. Like I've played every single Splinter Cell, and I can't wait for the next Splinter Cell. I'll shit out of it. Rainbow Six, played the crap out of those. Love the Tom Clancy game. Tom Clancy? Clancy? I can't say it. But this one just seemed like it was missing the, I don't know, a drive, like a moral reason to go. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was lacking that. Probably
and
because
it's sort of plot impetus sort of thing.
Yeah. There wasn't enough. There wasn't a reason to keep pushing. It was like, okay, well, I did this and I killed all these people, and now what?
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of end game.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
Yeah. So like
and
you level up.
The Dark Zone wasn't necessarily doing it for people as far as the end game is
It was
concerned.
fun, and you could fight people, but nobody really fought each other. It was all, you could do better by teaming up with everybody, which is fine, but you could do better with teaming up with everybody and just having like a impromptu pug PvE sort of fight. And
Okay, so I actually kind of figured it would end up playing out that way. It's good to know that's kind of how it did.
Yeah, that was my experience in the Dark Zone. Yeah, and so, but everything, and the reason that's a problem is because everything outside of the Dark Zone was so PvE heavy that when you went into the Dark Zone, maybe you wanted a greater challenge by going up against other players, because that's always tougher than AI, right? But I don't know, it just didn't really happen.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and start on my list. So first, real quick, couple honorable mentions. And both of them are kind of re-releases. They did a Life is Strange hard copy collector's edition in January, and that was the first time I played that game. That game is fucking phenomenal. I love that game. Everyone should play it or give it a try. I think the first episode is either free or dirt cheap on every single platform. So that's a good dip your toes in the water and find out if you want to go on that adventure. And the second one is a re-release. It's Odin Sphere Left Razor.
Life Tracer.
It's like, that's a phenomenal game. Like, but it's also still kind of a PS2 game. So you know, it's aged a bit, and they freshened it up in a lot of ways. I think it made it like way more approachable than it ever was on PS2. So my top 10. There were a few games that I just couldn't justify putting on anywhere that I have a feeling would have made it if I had spent more time with them, but I just didn't. Those are games like Hyper Light Drifter or The Witness or whatnot, and I just didn't have time with those. Didn't beat them. So number 10.
I don't think I'll ever beat The Witness.
Yeah. Well, and that's not like I haven't beat every game on my top 10. These other games I didn't feel like I played enough to have a clear enough opinion on.
I bet I could look up a walkthrough for The Witness and still not beat it.
Yeah, I bet the walkthrough would be difficult to interpret in a lot of places. So number 10 is a game I don't recommend to anyone, and that is Avengers Academy. I have spent too much time and money with Avengers Academy. It is pay to win, but the artwork is charming, the story is charming. Don't ever play it. It's tiny like Tiny Co is an evil company that just has some really good writers and artists working for them. Let's see. Number 9 is Firewatch. That's a good. That's a good walking simulator. I hate that term, but
but it's just it has sort of become pretty accurate. But I mean, yeah, Firewatch. Firewatch wasn't. I don't think anybody expected that to be a huge thing, and it wasn't what I expected when it came out. But yeah, it was good.
I wasn't sure what to expect it, but I like the Idle Thumbs guys, and I think they put out a good game. I think it has a good sound to it. I think it has a cool approach to the functionality of story in terms of, the story doesn't really change. It's just your relationship with the other character in the game changes. And I like all the weird little details in it and the area you romp around. And part of me would really like to see that team with a few more people on it and kind of a wider scope, because it would be really cool just to explore that park a bit more than you could in that game. But
find some more half-naked teenagers.
Yeah. You really can't see them. But anyway. Number 8 is Final Fantasy 15. I really haven't been a Final Fantasy fan for nearly a decade. Like, I think the last Final Fantasy game that came out that I liked, I don't know, it might have been Dirge of Cerberus or 12 or something, and just nothing they have ever pitched since then that wasn't a remake has really hit me. And Final Fantasy 15, I've spent about 15, 20 hours in it, and it's apparent to me that between the gameplay and hunts, that's enough for me to stamp it on my list. Like, whatever the story does is almost like, I hope the story's good, but it almost doesn't matter if the story is good, because all these other details are appealing enough to me, and the gameplay's appealing enough to me that I really like it.
And even with the hunts being, they're kind of shitty. There's a lot that could be smoothed out with those hunts. Let me take more than one. Or, if you want to limit it to one, give me one per vendor, because each city has their own hunts that they have you go out on, which makes sense, because, let's say you're going from San Diego up to Oakland. The people in Oakland don't give a shit about the monsters down in San Diego, so yeah, that makes sense. And going back and forth and revisiting places 2 and 3 times, which I've already done, not even counting the fact that I've had to play the first 5 hours twice. It's just I don't care about all that. It's a game I think about playing when I'm not playing it, and the only other game that's done that this year is Doom.
Yeah, and my wife Susie is addicted to this game. It is insane. She is not. It has been a good solid half year since she has really wanted to play any console game. And it especially a JRPG like Final Fantasy. She hates RPGs. And she just adores the characters in this game and driving around and doing all the stuff. It's.
And we made a bunch of jokes on Thursday about bromance and broad trip, but here's the thing: these are all pretty likable characters. I would have liked to see some female representation in the party, but these aren't bros the way Americans understand bros. These guys aren't out to pound beers and nail chicks. It's more like the Goonies than anything, Yeah. It's 4 friends going on an adventure, and it's fun. It's just fun.
I was thinking more like Entourage, but yeah. I guess with less drugs and
Yeah, what
sex.
I'm saying is these characters, when you say bros, people just assume that you're automatically a waste of a person.
Yeah.
These people are not, these dudes are not automatically dickbags. You just, because they're trapped in all those sort of archetypes, you think they're bros until you start playing the game, and it's okay, all right, these guys just dress like assholes.
Yeah, definitely. If you give it a try, give the characters a few hours, because I thought their voice actor choices were kind of jarring at first. But after a while, I think everything kind of, I think they're still a little bit jarring, but I think their personalities kind of really grow on you.
They had to pick 4 drastically different voice actors because by default subtitles and names are off. So they wanted you to be listening to these guys all the time and not necessarily reading it.
Yeah.
So they had to pick 4 like kind of two different accents, but then each accent had a higher voice and a lower voice to be able to just differentiate. I get it.
Well, and each character's a little bit of an archetype. You have Prompto, who's clearly Michelangelo of the Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got that from Kind of Funny Games, and they are 100% right in that. You have Gladiolus, who is your quiet hunter type, who's also evidently kind of thoughtful because he's fucking reading in the back seat all the time. You have
he is, isn't he?
Yep. You have Ignis, who is a cook, but is also in Japanese anime terms, he's Glass's character.
That food looks amazing. Like, that's the first food I've seen in a game where I went like, I really want to eat that. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Once the textures load in.
Yeah. But
right, you have to look at it for a few.
That game is great.
One last thing before we move on. Today, we were just talking. I was talking about how calling these guys bros isn't appropriate because really they're kind of good characters, but you'd never know it by looking at them. I've decided to start accentuating that and to give people the utmost wrong impression that I can when we roll up. So now my car is ivory white with beige interior and gold spinning rims. It's like, these are really down-to-earth dudes, even though he's a prince and he rolls up in a pimp mobile.
Yeah. So, what number am I on? 7. So, number 7, Moon Hunters. I was a Kickstarter backer for this, but it's a game I really like, and they keep adding content to it. And me and Susie played the shit out of this when it came out. It is so hard for me and Susie to find a game that we genuinely like that we can co-op play in. Most of the time when we play a game that's co-op, we are just like, this is all right, so we'll play through it. And that's kind of our feelings on Gears of War. That's why I played those, the first 2.5. We haven't made it through 3 yet, but
3 is a rough play. I've been trying myself.
But, I'm not a Gears of War fan. I don't, I have plenty of negative things to say about that game. I understand. There are a lot of people that like it. That's great. That's fine. It's not a touchstone in gaming history to me, though. But me and Susie can play it co-op. But Moon Hunters, we genuinely like. It is a really cool aesthetic to it. It is a really cool tone. There's some negative things that are definitely indie stuff, like the voice acting they have for the cutscenes is not great, and they've tried to improve that through patches, and I don't think you can fix that, unfortunately. But it's an inexpensive game. It is they literally just did a patch a week or so ago that adds a new character class that you can unlock through it, and
wow,
a new tile set and stuff. So I mean, they're doing stuff to it, But anyway, so number 6 is Oxenfree. This was a game.
Why am I drawing a blank on this game?
Oxenfree is a. Gosh, I really wish I knew how to describe this because it's entirely about conversation and what conversations you choose.
Oh, this was the one I joked was a talking simulator.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I would never have played it if Boston didn't recommend it to me so heavily, either before or during a pub episode that we were doing. But it's it's out for all the platforms. It's a good 2-hour playthrough. I would like to go back through and kind of see some of the variances and what you can do, because the game is entirely about encouraging your friends to do or not do things, and because it's kind of a game that has a little bit of timey-wimey stuff in it. I hate that phrase. I wish I didn't use it. But because of that, you have these situations where you encourage a character to do something, and that might, fuck up their life or their past, or they might die or something, and it's just really neat and has a really cool kind of sound scheme to it. But
all right.
Number 5 is a game I was hoping to have beaten by now, but I'm only about 70% of the way through, and that is Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4, it is a disservice to that game to call it just a perfected Uncharted, however true that statement may be, because it's not perfect. The driving in that game is shit. But
There's driving?
Yeah. It is not good. And
Is it open world, or are you driving linear, in a level?
The driving areas are open-ish. Like you kind of just have 2 or 3 paths you can take to the same place, kind of thing. But where Uncharted games break, or where you are in the cinematic sequence and then think you're supposed to go away that is not related to that linear sequence, and that is their problem with the driving sections for the most part.
And it's a testament to how good their games look that you can't tell that you're not in the cutscene anymore, but that's real frustrating when that happens.
But the thing that Uncharted 4 does that the others don't is they have nearly perfected, and this is just Naughty Dog at their skill level, nearly perfected instructing you in the game's mechanics and whatever's new or whatever you need to learn, and just seamlessly putting that into the narrative and sequences. And in half the time, they are instructing you just through the visual language of the game. And this Uncharted 4 especially, just the first few hours of that, I think, are just masterful in their execution. The game as it stands right now, up until I hit that driving area, around 40% of the way through the game, it's just before the halfway point that you start doing the driving stuff.
So how much of it feels like Dark Souls? That's what I want to know.
I know. Well, you can set your auto target on, and you'll lock on targets.
Oh, done.
So yeah. That's something I appreciated too, because I've never been a big fan of the shooting in the Uncharted games. I just went into I can't remember if it asked me at the start or if I just did it in the options, but I turned on auto aim, and there's some other auto option, and now whenever I click lock on, it automatically locks on to a dude, and I can just shoot him, and I don't have to.
Well, the problem was those PS3 and PS4 analog sticks are not the best for trying to aim gun sights, and those enemies always take so many shots before they go down that it just makes it tough to stick with that.
Well, and mostly in this game, the enemies are going down in 1 to 2 shots unless they have body armor on in Uncharted 4. But I think the game is excellent. I think it's masterful. I don't think it's just about looks. I think it has a lot more soul to it. I don't know if it's going to deliver on the soul, but one of the things that really impressed me is they introduced Nathan Drake's brother, right? And he has a Weasley face, in my opinion. He's voice acted by Troy Baker.
Troy Baker.
And I didn't trust him, and I still kind of don't trust him. But they have in almost every level, you have him or Sully in there with you, and you have these gameplay mechanics where you have to jump from one point to the other, and they'll catch you by the hand. And this does. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Randy's camera just froze on me for a minute. Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just totally frozen now.
I'm here. Can you hear me? You just can't hear me?
You started downloading Thumper, didn't you?
Yeah, you're a robot. Now you're... Okay, there you are. Well,
you're fucking downloading Thumper.
No, I'm not, I swear.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Randy's there. Okay, so they have moments where you have to rely on the AI person to catch you or drive you or do something for you. And they what I found is halfway through the game, I'm trusting my brother despite my better instincts, because they have all these kind of we'll say team building exercises just kind of built into the mechanics of the game, which I think is really cool and endearing, and that's just indicative of the entire design of the game. It is a game with faults. It has plenty of faults. I mean, the driving, again, is shit, and that is, they still have cinematic sequences that break because you're like, where the fuck do I go, kind of thing. But they're fewer and far between, I think, than previous Uncharted's. So my number 4 is a game I would not have thought in my wildest years would have been here.
Your wildest years.
Yes. And that is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because I love that fucking single-player campaign.
You hate COD games.
I know. But you know what? You put that motherfucker in space, you give me, really cool, hard sci-fi, like animations and details to it. Because the ship, your main home base ship, your hub ship, because you have a hub in that game. where you choose what missions to go to. It feels like you're in this cramped military vessel, and it is so fucking awesome. Like, the guns in that game...
So, like, it's the shrine in Dark Souls? Where you
it's not like Mass Effect where you're in this majestic ship flying through the sky, and it's roomy, and you have your own captain's quarters. It's totally different, right?
It's not the Normandy, it's the Hormandy.
Right.
Like, imagine the Normandy if it was designed like a submarine. And that is what this spaceship feels like. And it is fucking awesome. Like, floating around in space and having this grappling hook to grapple over to asteroids and, you know, grabbing other dudes in space and smashing their face masks in so they suffocate. And then, like...
The face space.
That level where you do a raid on a ship, you know, and just, like, okay, fucking blow up the window to the main ship bridge and we'll just have the main crew go out and then we're going to take this ship over. And, like, they just do a really good job on that campaign. And it's a good... If you do all the side quests, which I recommend because... Even though the side quests reuse some of the assets of the other missions,
side quests.
The side quests in it, like, I think are really well done. Like, they have really cool things. Like, when you're sneaking up on a ship in asteroids and going in through a utility room, or you're flying, like you're trying to get shit like at an area that's too close to the sun, so you have to do it within a few minutes, or you're doing a space fight in your ship and then you get out of it and go do something and then get back in. Like, all of that shit is really, really cool. It is,
that sounds good.
At minimum, I think, worth a rent just for the single player alone. I haven't even touched the multiplayer. I'm kind of curious just because I like the space mechanics in it so much. I'm curious to see if that plays out well in a multiplayer scenario, but the single player is enough for me. But I got it on a hard disk, so Randy, if you're ever curious, you are welcome to borrow it.
Yeah, I probably will. PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So my number 3, Forza Horizon 3. I love Forza Horizon. That is a good driving game.
Forza.
I might have a better opinion of the driving in Uncharted 4 if I...
This is the one where Susie has to spray in the face, right?
Yeah.
Does she? I don't
for the immersion.
Yeah. That's
The
it.
immersive experience.
Exactly. I have to drive along the beach while she sprays me, and
Hit me, Susie!
Okay, we're getting there. Number 2, Tokyo Mirage Sessions. #FE.
Tokyo Mirage. Okay, that's a long title.
It is. It's a Japanese RPG for the Wii U. You know, it has some level design problems, I think, in the dungeons, but, like, that game's, like, every Shin Megami Tensei or Persona game has just fucking style out the wazoo, and this one is no different. It's got style in its screens. It's got a really cool combat system where you hit the elemental weakness of an enemy and then your other guys like hit it again, and then you just like the game keeps ramping up those mechanics. So towards the end of the game you're doing like a 12 to 20 hit combo with your team that's just really cool and really rewarding and overpowering. And it doesn't have a super deep story, but most of the characters are somewhat endearing by the end. And I think they all have cool side quests. Like, one of the characters, his whole side quest is, hey, they do this play at the park that's basically, you know, like a Power Rangers style thing, like a bunch of guys in the suits fighting monsters. And he's like, I want to be in that play. So you help him get that part, and he gradually, you know, graduates to a TV show version of that, you know. Like, that's his side storyline, and all the characters have various kind of cool side storylines like that. But it's a really cool game. If you own a Wii U and you like JRPGs, I wholeheartedly recommend it. And number 1 game of the year is Mirror's Edge. No, that's a lie. It's Doom. It's Doom. Doom is really fucking good. These guys... You guys already talked it to death a good chunk, but like the sound design is amazing in that game. The level design, the double jump, the teleporting around with the quick finishes, the challenges to get kind of, you know, new buffs through the portals, all just teach you to play the game better, and it's a fast fucking game. And games need to be goddamn fast. Fuck these motherfuckers who inflicted slow first-person shooters on us through all these console years. Yes, they made a few good ones, but at the end of the day, this shit needs to be fast. It needs to get your blood pumping, and you need to get better at Twitch mechanics.
Doom definitely gets the blood moving.
So
definitely.
I love it, and
We were gonna name a game of the year. Do we need to bother naming a game of the year?
No, it's Doom. Come on.
There's no other.
We all knew this, right?
Yeah, there's no other argument
Totally.
with this. We don't have anyone on our cast who's played Overwatch who's going to go to bat for that game.
Get that shit out of the Trello. We don't need it.
I don't. It seemed like there was another, like, I think Inside was another game that a lot of people liked, and I haven't played Inside, and I'm sure it's a great game. I will probably eventually play it, but I mean, Doom is fucking amazing, guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
Doom and Inside
you're talking to the choir here.
are pretty opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, I'm just.
It's not exactly an introspective, you need to read into everything. Like, no, this is a video game-ass video game. You are here to fucking kill demons.
Yep.
And here's a bunch of demons and some awesome shit to kill them with.
Yeah.
And it's just it's bloody and violent and fast, and the music is just heavy, and the drums are crazy. It's
got the right amount of stylization.
Yeah.
Good sound design and good soundtrack go so fucking far in these things,
It
you know?
does. It's very important, and it's often neglected.
Yeah. I mean, you don't reload in Doom. God damn. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
Unless you want to count the timer for your alternate weapons, but even that, you're not watching animation. You're just waiting for the timer to tick down.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, let me run through my game soundtracks of the year. There's only 3. One is we got lots of shit to cover, Randy. It's not my fault if you didn't do your homework. So one is shots fired. So I'm only going to mention 3. The Oxenfree soundtrack is this trippy, like IDM, trip-hop, atmospheric type thing that's reminiscent of like a Silent Hill 2 or 3 game. Really cool. Really enjoyed it. Number 2 is Hyperlight Drifter, a game I wish I would have spent more time with. Hyperlight Drifter is closer to somewhere between a chiptune and an Evangelis soundtrack, and it's very kind of ambient and creative, and I like it. And of course, we already talked Doom. It wins the Soundtrack of the Year award for me too. So
Totally.
totally. Let's see. So
Hold up. I have a quick soundtrack of the year for games, and that is the Necrodancer, Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Was that this year?
Yeah, it was January, February, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
Should be.
I'm surprised that didn't make your list then.
Because I haven't really played it in months. Like, I loved the shit out of that game when it came out, and I haven't really. Yeah, it was out in.
Didn't you beat it?
April. Yeah, I beat it, and the guys who run the studio have. Like, they have the Necromancer's face, or the Necrodancer's face as their icon, and they've called it the Necrodancer. So I had posted on Twitter when I beat it, like, fuck yeah, I beat Crypt of the Necrodancer! And they favorited that tweet, so it says, I get this email that says, the Necrodancer likes this, and I'm like, I feel like this probably isn't canon, but okay.
At the Necrodancer.
Yeah. You know what, it was just, Danny Baranowski did the soundtrack for that. He was the one who did the original Binding of Isaac soundtrack. I love anything he does. I think he did Super Meat Boy as well. He is the best video game musician there is out there, for my money. And then Jules, Family Jules from YouTube, who does all the video game metal covers. You know, they had 7-8 different versions of the soundtrack for that game, and he did one of them. You know, you can randomize them. That just between the fucking fat beats that game has got, and just the straight up fucking jams, that game is still installed on my hard drive. I don't play it real often, but I do play that soundtrack quite a bit.
Fat beats and straight up jams.
That's right.
That's right.
That'd be a good episode title if we were doing that this episode. But
I've already got one written down.
So real quick,
you can have a parenthetical title.
So real quick, we're going to make some predictions for 2017.
Some predications.
So my intention is to kind of copy TVGP a little bit on this, but hopefully not do it as long. Where we just make a couple recommendations, being a couple predictions, whether they are absolutely ridiculous or just playing it safe, and then next year we can see what kind of asses we made of ourselves during that podcast. So I guess we didn't really discuss this beforehand, but
no, that's fine. That'll be fun. It'll be off the cuff, spontaneous.
Yeah. So
well, I got a list of 5.
Oh my god!
Let's hear it, Jake.
I'm gonna burn through them real quick here.
You motherfuckers in your lists.
Scorpio's gonna be out. It's not gonna get delayed. By the end of the year, most of your games are gonna be focused. Even though they said they weren't gonna, most of these games are gonna be focused on running on the Scorpio or the PS Pro. We're already starting to see it. Persona 5 is gonna be delayed at least one more time. I hope it's at least 12 months.
Ah, fuck you, Jake.
Just to fuck with John. You're going to have that new Souls series announced. It's not going to be out, but they're going to announce what they're, very vaguely, we're going to get some trailer that doesn't have any text, any voice, just shows a bunch of pictures and then shows whatever the title is. VR is not going to take off. It is not going to be in everyone's house, but it won't be dead yet.
Yep.
And Ed McMillan finally goes back to releasing new IP. He has some Binding of Isaac, Afterbirth, DLC coming out in a couple of weeks here, like January 13th. Once that's out, I feel like he's going to be done with Binding of Isaac, and he's going to move on to some of his other stuff. Like he was talking about Mugenics, which is where you just breed cats. I think there's probably some other stuff. I think he's probably ready to move on. That guy comes up with too many ideas to stick on Isaac for another 3 years. Those are all my ideas. They're pretty safe.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna the VR one. I was gonna say it's not gonna take off. It's still too expensive, and there's not enough content, and it's just not going to take off.
But it seems like developers and
it's not going to go away.
Manufacturers are still right. They intend to keep supporting this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think the next 12 months are going to change on each side.
Well, because the potential is totally there. It's just it's too young. It's in its infancy, and so it's just your mom and your dad aren't going to have it, and
my mom and my dad are never going to have it.
Well, okay, maybe not yours.
My mom just called me from her landline while we were doing the cast. Okay,
lots of people still have landlines, but that was going to be mine. Is that VR just is going to stick around? It's not going to die, but it's also not going to take off either. John?
Okay. Because fuck you, Jake, the Scorpio is going to get pushed to 2018. I agree on the VR stuff. I don't think the Xbox is going to get any VR support next year. Which other?
Aren't they still going after AR more than VR? Isn't Microsoft sort of still pushing the HoloLens thing?
I don't think HoloLens will come out next year either. I think they're just gonna.
Oh no, but that's the area they're leaning towards. Is what I'm. The feeling I.
That's their in-house development. I mean, because their potential support is they're allegedly going to get a Oculus support. So, of course, the world's going to end in July of next year. So, I mean, we aren't really going to get to see much come to fruition. So,
why this time? What's July?
July. Well, I mean, Trump will have been president for half a year. It's. I don't think
That's
he's
all
good.
it takes?
I don't think he's good enough to get it done in March. But I think he can. I think he can get it done by July.
Okay.
So.
An inefficient Antichrist.
Yeah, and so on that end, Red Dead Redemption 2 never releases.
Never ever. Or
I don't.
Not 2017.
I don't see that thing coming out in 2017. Any way you slice it, it's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
Look. If I'm wrong, that means I win. That's a win-win for me. But I don't see it happening. They're going to release Bully 3 more times, and that's going to be their focus for the year. I don't think so. They're perfectionists. I don't see that thing coming out till next. Till a year after next week or whatever.
Okay. And my last prediction is Mass Effect Andromeda releases, and it is an average game.
I mean,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They're just tacking it on, right? Like they don't have the creative impetus isn't there. It's just because the first 3 made so much money that we have to make another one now. Oh crap, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, they've been working on it for like 5 years now. I mean, 3 came out in
That's true.
2013 or something like that.
Well,
in my wildest dreams, this game, if you're looking at review scores, this game is an 8, 8.25.
Yeah.
In my wildest dreams. Which I hope, again, I hope I'm
pretty
wrong.
average as far as those scores go. That's an average game.
Yeah, the floor starts at 6.5. So
It does.
I think that's by definition.
Right. Yeah, you get 6 points for putting your game out.
Like I feel like this is just where we need, like, whether it's true or not, this is where we need our expectations to be at. So.
And that's okay. Like a Mass Effect game that's an 8.25 is still another Mass Effect game that by definition is good. So.
Well, let's all just say that we'll be more than happy to have our expectations exceeded.
Yeah, for sure. But it just doesn't. It has too much going against it at this point.
It does.
And it's not like it's going to fail. It's just that setting your hopes anywhere near what they would have been 4 years ago is probably a silly idea at this point.
It just doesn't feel right. Like the first 3 were connected by a common thread, a common story, a common character, and now this one is separate.
Well, this one's ostensibly starting a new story, which is fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they have. That's what they have to do if they're going to continue this. I'm worried that this is going to be game by like marketing committee instead of
There's too much Me Tooism. Like, oh well, we gotta have. It's not like we need callbacks for the fans, but we got to do a little fan service, so we got to have this this and this, and it's going to hamstring a lot of their creativity. I think
they're going to try to shove in Garrus or whatever. Like,
well, no, they aren't.
Well, they ain't doing that. It's been 500 years.
Yeah, we aren't going to have any of the other characters from the games, but we're going to have Turians, we're going to have Krogans, we're going to have all the races we're used to seeing.
So it's not related at all, except that they've got the races in there.
Yeah.
Well, these guys
why not make a whole other game? Why do you feel like you got to hitch that on to the Mass Effect brand?
And that's what we're talking about
to sell it.
Well, and the other thing I can't stand, and sci-fi authors are always guilty of this, is when they won't make the protagonist human because they don't think anyone can relate to an alien.
We are.
Like a lot of writers and like when writers are talking about Transformers, like, oh no, we have to have the human perspective in the game because no one can relate to an alien robot who obviously has a fucking human personality. And the Mass Effect series is always like, I would love to roll up a Turian or a Krogan or something as the main character. Like that would be amazing.
Well,
they did it in Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own. You could have been a dwarf or an elf or whatever, and everyone had their. Like, clearly they can do this, except that's not these guys.
But Mass Effect wants to be raw human beings. Yay, we're such a great race.
Well, that's the way Star Trek is too. But like even in a Star Trek or a Lord of the Rings or anything like that, all the different races are really just particular types of humans, right?
And
when you boil it down, that's
exactly.
That's what they end up being is archetypes. Yeah.
Right.
Well, so why not let that different type of human be the main character?
Right. So we totally could relate. What is it? Who's Driss Doradin?
He is a drow.
Dark elf.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the protagonist of a popular series.
Yeah. Like
he's also a Neverwinter.
If you were playing a Star Trek RPG, would you want to be a human, or would you want to be like a fucking Klingon or a Vulcan or a Romulan?
Well, this is the thing. That was the thing in WoW and EverQuest and all those games. Galaxies, back when that was going, like, why would you ever make a human? That's so boring.
Yeah.
I'm a human every day. It sucks.
Yeah.
I want to be a Zabrak or an orc.
In Mass Effect, they were considering doing aliens for a while, and then they came out and made that statement about how Mass Effect is very much based about human accomplishment and that shit. And it's like, did you guys
fine.
I realize you have that human patriotism bullshit kind of lined in your game, but the thing everyone loves are those alien sidekicks.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Like they don't.
What this comes down to is, I wish this had been Mass Effect Cloverfield, where the only thing related is the name.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else is related. We don't need the ship, sent off Earth or, the Milky Way 500 years ago, that just doesn't know anything that happened in the first trilogy. Like, just say it's Mass Effect Andromeda. This is all the shit that happened over there. Whether it happens concurrently, or if you want to tie it together where there are mass relays here too, great.
Right.
But I don't need humans and Krogan Centurions and Asari and none of that.
What you need to keep is the companion system, the combat system, and maybe the ship interface style, like you had in 2 and 3.
Sure, all of that will be in the game too. It's just
like that's what you need. All the rest of the stuff.
We'll just see if time will tell whether the creative vision and the and whether because BioWare used their multiplayer. The people who made the multiplayer for 3 are the ones doing this new game, so we already know they got the gameplay down. Will they have the story down? So that's the big question. But that's also why I think we need to go into this thinking it's going to be average, so we don't flip out like we did on Mass Effect 3's ending.
Which I was fine with. I don't understand why everybody pissed their pants.
That is long conversation.
Yeah,
the original ending was bullshit.
Nah.
It was not good. It wasn't. Yeah, not good.
It was not bullshit. It was fine.
So, anyway, I guess that's going to do it for this year. Before we move on to wrapping it up, John, Randy, I just wanted to take a second and thank you for joining us this year. It's great to have you, and thanks for hopping on.
Yeah,
and I don't mean this cast. I mean in general. Thanks for joining up with us.
Best new cast member 2016.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like doing it.
So, what is it? Oh, yeah, wrap-up shit. So, be sure and visit the... actually, before I do the links and stuff, we're going to release the audio version of this podcast probably either next week or the week after, so we won't actually have a podcast on the 22nd, I think.
Well, by then they will have figured that out.
Yeah.
This is our 12/22 podcast.
Yeah. So, but
Gotcha.
if anyone watches the video before then, that's what's happened. So we won't see you guys until really next year. So just FYI. So be sure and send us emails at carouselpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Carousel Podcast. Go to the website, thecarouselpodcast.com. Buy my music at MusiM.bandcamp.com. Randy, where can we find you?
At OSU Cobra on Twitter and Gifts of Men on PS4. And I would like to reiterate, email us, tweet us. We don't get that many. We will answer your shit. Like,
we will. It's always fun hearing from you guys. And
I like doing it. So
yeah. So Jake, where can we find you?
I'm TheOtherJZee on Twitter. That's JZEE. And anything else I do usually gets noted there.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, we will see you guys next turn.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming to the chat, everyone. Bye, guys.
2017. What?